We have massive breaking news right now. A screaming match has erupted in the Oval Office between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Ukrainian President Zelensky over the war in Ukraine. I can't even do this clip justice. You need to watch it for yourself.
Bro, what kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to...
Come once. Even you, but you have nice ocean. And don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this.
You're
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet.
You haven't been alone.
In this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
Less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
Except
that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on. I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look. If you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me. That wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden who was not a smart person. You got to be more thankful. Because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
If you believe for one moment that the theatrical horseshit that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance just engaged in the Oval Office with President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine was anything but a big wet kiss on Vladimir Putin's puckered ass, you are mistaken. These men have sold out the world. They've sold out NATO. They've sold out Ukraine. And most importantly, they've sold out America's interest in the world. An American president and an American vice president decided to stand with a dictatorial, autocratic war criminal in the name of Vladimir Putin.
I don't even know what to tell you. Trump just said that Ukraine started the war, called Zelensky a dictator, and said Ukraine doesn't deserve a seat at the negotiating table. Or with Trump saying that Ukraine should have traded land to Russia 3 years ago and adding that Russia could destroy Ukraine if it wanted to. He then went on to parrot a Russian talking point saying that Ukraine needs to have elections before peace talks can actually begin, which notably is a key Russian demand because they hope to install a puppet before negotiations.
Now, Donald Trump is the online Kremlin propaganda made flesh. He is repeating the lines that your Auntie Doris's Facebook has been serving up for the last 10 years about Ukraine being responsible for its own invasion. That is not a moment for worrying about hyperbole. That the President of the United States of America is peddling Kremlin pro-Putin propaganda.
You know, I was in Moscow a couple of months ago. I owned the Miss Universe pageant, and they treated me so great. Putin even sent me a present, beautiful present.
Here, oddly enough, at the Miss Universe pageant that Donald Trump was doing with Aras Agalarov.
Billionaire oligarch who was known actually as Putin's builder because he had done massive construction projects for the Kremlin.
Donald Trump chose Moscow as the place to have Miss Universe. I think it would be important for us to understand just who he met with while he was on that trip, whether he talked to Vladimir Putin.
In 1987, the Soviet authorities approached Donald Trump for the first time.
But I think the KGB were quite simply opportunistic.
Dear Mr. Trump, I have some good news from Moscow. The Soviet Agency for Tourism, Interest, has expressed interest in pursuing a joint venture to construct a hotel. The Interest Agency, responsible for welcoming foreigners, was controlled by the KGB.
Trump had the project to build a high-rise tower in Moscow. So they facilitated the purchase of land for the tower. And of course, KGB cameras and microphones were everywhere.
Do you think it could have been compromised?
Well, I would not rule out. I would not say details, but speaking from my own experience, all foreigners, particularly from the United States and NATO countries, would be under control, or they tried to make it, controlled as much as they could.
It could be used 10, 15, maybe 20 years later, if and when the person in question became important.
Compromise? It's essentially embarrassing information that's going to put you under somebody else's thumb.
Use money, use sex, use whatever they can to try to entrap people. That's just a fact.
They don't mind blowing up their own bribery scheme to blackmail an individual.
KGB instructors specifically made the point, never bother with leftists. Forget about these political prostitutes. Aim higher. This was my instruction. Try to get into large circulation, established conservative media.
That Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up.
Because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe. So quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
I hate to say it, I told you so.
How Trump's security clearances order could make the U.S. vulnerable. The plan to give temporary security clearances without background checks opens the door to breaches and espionage, experts say. Giving out security clearances without background checks that look for things like criminal entanglements, lots of debt, anything that they could blackmail you over, or any contacts with foreign governments. To make sure that you're not,
Exec just commanded cybersecurity to stop looking into cyber attacks relating to Russia, so that is both on offensive and defensive.
Now you're finding out, you dumb fucking idiots. Now you're just figuring this shit out. You're so fucking stupid and you deserve it.
Kamala Harris is looking real good now, huh? I said Kamala Harris is looking real good now, huh?
Y'all wanted to play the fuck around game so goddamn badly. Well, you are fixing to find out very bigly.